Hi, Alicia from Future Frequency here with your Scorpio season 2018 forecast. So, look, I don't actually feel like this is the beginning of Scorpio season. Venus retrograde has been giving us a good old showing of the dark shadow side of Scorpio that life is about. I hear clients talking about revisiting old relationships, a lot of people talking about how tired they are, and just processing a lot, feeling like just kind of vulnerable and raw. So this will extend into it then on the 23rd when the sun does move into Scorpio, and deepen this in a way. And it isn't going to be the sunshine and rainbows of puppy dogs I'd love to be able to promise you, but it is coming. So just hold on, hold those fingernails, just claw a little bit, because we're almost there. And it's not even going to be a month. I feel like the lifting of the energy is going to happen with Venus moving, Jupiter moving into Sag, and even before that, Venus moving into Libra. This month is packed full of transits and energy changes and shifts, so that's why I decided to do a video, because I feel like I can get across more when I'm just talking. So I hope you enjoy this. Maybe grab a pen and paper and write some things down, because there will be a lot of information in this video. So first off, we were all back in May. Uranus moved into Taurus and caused a whole lot of shifts for a whole lot of people. You may remember that yourself. And what's going to happen as soon as the sun moves into Scorpio, it's going to oppose Uranus. And this is the first time this has happened since it moved in there. And what it's going to do is really highlight that area of our lives and check that we're making the changes we need to make. It's, Uranus wants to break things apart. And if you apply that energy in the right place, if you're renovating a house and there's a particular wall and, you want to open up and allow some light and space in, then you're going to knock down some walls. And that's a great thing, unless you knock down the wrong wall. And then your whole roof collapses in. So this is going to highlight that and say, right, are you applying that change to the right area in your life? And, are you searching for authenticity and freedom and independence in a way that will support you and support others? And is the change you're making realistic? And can you ground it in? The sun in Scorpio is going to ask you to look deep. So really it's like checking the foundations of the house to make sure that, going around and making sure that all the walls are okay, that remain, that they can hold up the roof to keep you safe and secure. So really, have a think about that and what's going on there. This is also, it's like the midpoint between the eclipses. And, this links back to that buffet of crazy. This whole year's really been a buffet of crazy, but this links back to that particular dish in the buffet of crazy in the eclipse back in July, the end of July. So have a think back to what insights you got at that stage and potential changes that swept through your life then, and whether or not you're still upholding those changes, or if you've come back and into your groove a bit, or kind of feel like you're a bit stuck. This is a time to really shine a light into that and have a look. And then, a few days later, we've got this full moon in Taurus happening. And look, even I would say from the 23rd, this whole way through, but the full moon in Taurus, man, usually full moon in Taurus is this gorgeous, grounded energy, time to kind of just feel pleasure of being alive, get into your senses, enjoy what it means to be a human, with this beautiful body and complex we've been given. But look, sorry, for the next 7 years, Uranus is going to make those full moons less about that. And what I really see it as, full moons are about release. So this is about releasing for your freedom, or breaking open yourself for you to be more authentic. I feel like it's like cracking the shell or the mask that we wear, so that a lot more of ourselves can shine through. You know, the full moon is when the sun and the moon are in opposite signs and the planet is in between. So there's this alignment between, you know, the consciousness that is the sun, and then the unconsciousness that is the moon. And then, you know, way out there, beyond will be Uranus, and it will be filtering its energy in through this as well. So it really is a chance to get new insights. And I feel like on the other side of this full moon, what we thought would be the direction we were moving in, or what we thought would be the right thing to do, especially what we've been digging under with this Venus retrograde, there'll be surprises and there'll be changes and shifts, and quite sudden ones, so that we will be in a really different place on the other side of it. And also, you know, it's with the moon being in Taurus, it's ruled by that Venus retrograde. So again, you know, it's bringing in that drilling down into our hearts and into our soul to really find what it is that is important for us right now. So I really feel, you know, there's going to be this, the other thing about them being in these different signs is there is oppositions and polarities and bouncing back and forth. Which way will you be going? So, you know, for these 2 or 3 days around this full moon, it's going to be intense, and you're probably going to be having trouble. If you have trouble sleeping, use my normal, I mean, for those of you that don't know this trick, pop a piece of amethyst under your pillow and some lapis lazuli between your feet when you sleep at night. It helps drain away the nervous energy that Uranus can bring, especially with these full moons. Hard enough to sleep under anyway, usually. And again, Taurus, just ground yourself. Do your yoga, go for a walk in nature, pop your spine up against a tree, walk barefoot in the grass. You know, if you can, get a massage, anything that'll get you into your body. And just know that the emotional intensity will pass. It will fade. It's only a few days. And just make sure with those gemstones, A, if they can be uncut, best. B, make sure you wash them every morning, pop them in the sun to charge up, and then put them back in their place again. You know, and this is something anytime you are using and having trouble sleeping, it's a really great tool to use. Another thing you can do if you're really struggling is just wear amethyst. I've got some beautiful amethyst earrings as an example that I wear all the time. I've always got amethyst in my ears to help calm me, because I'm naturally a Uranian kind of person. But this will have a kind of sped up, quite intense, crazy energy. You feel like there's a lot of back and forth, or like a seesaw up and down. So yeah, try and find some grounding and some balance in it, and just be mindful. Be with yourself, because there's some amazing insights that are possible in this time if you can give yourself the space and the peace and the time to sit with it. I think the more you're in the world and caught up in the fast speed of the world, the harder this transit will be to kind of go through. Okay, and then look, a couple of days later, the buffet of crazy continues. Dish number 3. We're going to have the midpoint of the Venus retrograde happening, and it's almost like she is actually between us and the planet, between us and the sun. So she, you know, she's gone all the way back. She was the evening star. Now she's transitioning back to the morning star. And right now, you know, on the 27th, we won't be able to actually see her. But what she's moving into on that day is what's called a cazimi. And I spoke about this, I think, in a previous post about Mercury being cazimi. So planets on either side of the sun, when they're getting closer, it's like they get burnt up. You can't see them in the sky normally, because as the sun sets, it goes with it. And it's like the light of the king, they're hidden by, and they can't shine up. They have less voice. And that's why it's almost this depth and this hidden stuff that Venus retrograde does. However, when they come right up super close to the sun, it's like suddenly they can whisper in its ear, and it's like Venus is now in the sun's embrace, and she's given a little bit of pillow talk to the sun to say, come on, this is what we need to do. This is what I've learned as I'm backtracking over this area of Scorpio that you're about to move through. So hey, have a listen to what I've got to say. So use this day. For us here in Australia, the Cazimi is going to happen from about 4 a.m. What I'm actually going to do is pop up a video on my website as well, a little guided meditation. And this one is going to be around connecting into your higher self to really get an understanding about Venus retrograde and what you've been learning. I've had a few people ask me, what should I be learning? What area of my life has been focused on? You know, I don't actually feel like I'm getting any understanding of these patterns that are happening. That's okay. I feel like that day you're going to get some insights if they didn't already come around the full moon. And if shifts and changes happened on the full moon, now it's a time to really talk to your higher self and say, right, where do I need to go? All this digging stuff up, you know, it's like panning for gold. You put the sieve into the water and it's full of mud and murky water, and you sieve and you sieve and you get all that murky water out and all the dirt and the dust, and then the gold is there, you know, that core thing. So this is really a day to be panning for your own gold or your own gems, and really embrace the light of what is possible in this, because it has felt pretty deep and dark. It has felt like, you know, getting down into the shadows and battling the demons that's there. However, you know, this is the midway point through, so it's almost like we've gone as far as we can. We've gone as downhill as we can, and now it's time to climb out and into the light. And it's interesting, you know, because the next day Venus is then going to go and oppose Uranus, and we're going to really value our own freedom and authenticity and all that stuff I was talking about with that full moon. And look, this energy never quite moves away. You know, even as Venus, you know, there is a little time where Venus moves into Libra, and Uranus will kind of need a time to catch up with that. But what it means is that there is this electric quality to the Venus retrograde that's going to happen, and it's almost like you can either use it as a stun gun on yourself, or you can use it as a stun gun on those demons that are in the shadow world that you want to get rid of. You know, it's like Uranus can actually give us a way to break those things apart and destroy forever what's there. So that's what that 27th, 28th period will be like. And then on the 29th, next dish in the buffet of crazy, will be Mercury moving into its shadow. Yep. There's another retrograde coming up. We'll talk more about that soon. But yeah, Mercury will hit the point on that day, the furthest he will go. Will hit the point where he will move back over. So know that from the 29th, any themes there you will be revisiting. However, it's just Mercury retrograde. So, you know, we're all going to go, after all we've done with Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde this year, we've got this. We know what we're doing. Remember the days when you used to be worried about Mercury retrograde? Not anymore. So that same day, what will also happen, however, is that Mercury is going to conjunct Jupiter. Now, Mercury allows us to communicate. It's almost like everything he touches, he communicates. It's like, think of the town crier that goes into the square. Hear ye, hear ye, he's going with his bell. And this is exactly what he's doing for Jupiter in Scorpio. It's like that last chance for Jupiter in Scorpio to really broadcast its message. I'll be really curious to see what happens in the world that day, what new things may come up. This will be the first of 3 trans, but it will be the only one that will happen in Scorpio. What can happen, especially with Jupiter and Scorpio, is this can be a day when the monkey mind goes bananas, you know, and that critical mind of ours really goes to town on us. I would say just know that that's what it's about. Journaling is a really great way to get stuff out of your head and onto the page. Or for any of you that watch Netflix and have watched Frankie and Grace, do what Frankie does and record yourself on your phone. You can do it on video or just on your voice messages. Just get it out of you. Because the thing is, I know I've said this before, but when things are in our brain only, the rest of us doesn't know anything about it. And so that can be hurtling around in that monkey mind of ours and it gets stuck. When we speak it out loud, you know, this is why journaling, or write it down. This is why counseling works. This is why journaling works. This is why psychotherapy works. It's almost like we get a fresh perspective on what things are, because suddenly the rest of us knows what's happening. Our brain is encased in our skull for a reason. And if we can get it out, you know, go and see a therapist or have a conversation about something that you might be feeling guilty about or even ashamed of, with someone you care about and trust. Write it down on a page if it's too private or too secret, or, you know, record that video I was talking about. And it'll be a way that you can get new insights into it and give it a fresh new voice. And really, I feel like it's going to be a culmination of all this energy, because, you know, the next couple of days later, yes, we've got Halloween and all the crazy that happens after that. And then late at night on Halloween, we have a lot happening as well. And on the 1st of November, it's going to help us with this. But on that 29th as well, the moon is going to oppose Saturn. And so we've got a choice with this transit. We can allow it to get the better of us and feel like all that, the feelings and the intuiting and the sensitivities we've had with this Scorpio energy can get us down, and we can feel like, I haven't gotten anywhere. Here's this pattern hitting me upside the head one more time. Or you can choose to use it to ground yourself and bring logic and reasoning to the sensitivities and the things that you've detected about yourself in this time. So when you're writing and you're doing that stuff, think about, okay, I've learned this. Where do I go next with it? I understand that about myself, or I perceive that new thing. Where can I take that from here? This is almost like it's a test or a challenge for you to be in both parts, the heart and the mind, and there, go forward from there. So 1st of November, we've got Venus retrograding back into Libra. Yay! She's out of Scorpio. She's back in her home territory and feeling pretty darn good about it. Yes, she doesn't like going backwards. None of the planets really do. But, you know, Venus is a lot more about attracting things to herself and doing, you know, the fact that she's in this sign, she'll be able to do that. She's not as bad at moving backwards as Mercury and Mars are, because she has a lot more coolness and patience with this. So the rainbows will return, but remember, we still need rain to make a rainbow. The sun will shine, but it's not going to be all the clouds clearing completely. But the sun is always shining above that. So we need to remember that in our head. So my feeling with this is that, you know, this will be really when Venus will come back into that opposition with Uranus and will stay in that territory until she pretty much goes forward into Scorpio in the beginning, the first few days of December, the 2nd and 3rd of December. So what this is going to do is highlight that Uranus moving back into Aries. More on that, because that is happening. Oh yeah, that's not happening until the 7th. But for now, what it's doing is giving us a fresh chance to have new insights or revelations around what we've been learning in this retrograde, about our relationships, about how we relate, reflections that relationships are offering to us, If all relationships are a mirror, then hold that mirror up to yourself. Are you the right partner? Are you being the partner you wish you had? And have a look at how you are a magnet to things, how you can attract things. As well, we're moving out of the power dynamics of Scorpio and into a sign that demands balance, that demands equality, that demands fairness, and asks for harmony and beauty in the world. So think about how you can bring that into your relationship after you've done the dark shadow side of things and really become closer and more intimate with your partner or in any of your relationships and done some hard work. Now's the time to kind of put in place what you've learned to make those power dynamics balanced, so that nobody has more power than other. Bring things into a mutuality and really bring in those qualities of fairness. What does it mean to have fairness? What does it mean to live a life of grace? What does it mean to create beauty in the world? What kind of qualities embody all of that? Think about how you can bring those into your life. That same day, we have got Mercury moving into Sagittarius. And look, this is the first of lightening the load out of Scorpio. He's the first one to get on out of Dodge. And yes, he's going to go back in there again. At the end of his retrograde, he will be dipping his toes in the water in the first week of December. But right now, look, even though he's not that happy in Sagittarius, it is the sign of his detriment. He will be communicating to us those things that can inspire us. It's almost like saying, you know what, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope there. And we can breathe for a little bit and feel like we can believe in a life of rainbows and unicorns again. Not quite, but have some optimism about the future. And he is going to herald. He's like the herald walking in front of the king, blowing his trumpet, announcing his return. Because Jupiter will move into Sagittarius in just over a week. So it's like he's letting us know what is going to be coming up for the next 12 months as Jupiter moves into that sign of his kingdom. So imagine that you're in a kingdom and you can hear the herald on the horizon. You weren't sure whether or not the king was ever going to return from those battles he was going through with the demons and the serpents and the dragons of Scorpio land. But there it is. He's on his way back. What state he's going to be in, who knows? Is he going to be missing an arm? We don't know, but the king's returning and there's going to be some rejoicing in the land. A little bit before we do that though, we've got the 6th of November is going to be quite a dreamy day, and an unconscious day. It's a day of not really getting much done. Mars will offer some energy into this, but you're going to have the moon conjuncting, so the moon's in Libra and it will come up and conjunct Venus there, and it's going to reflect a bit more on everything that's been going on this year and what has been possible. And it's moving into its dark phase there, so there is a quietening down anyway of things and a moving into really wanting to rest and retreat. So I would say definitely mark this day off as a day not to be planning on doing much. This is a day to be meditating. This is a day to be lying on the couch watching Netflix. This is a day to be, blissing out, even doing some kind of spiritual pilgrimage. And yes, Mars in Aquarius will add to the mix, and what he is offering from there is the surgeon's knife, that chance to cut out all those things that you learned so far in the retrograde and let them go. So use this day to dwell, to meditate, to focus in on what's possible when you let go of that stuff. You know, what's holding you back? What do you not need anymore? What is it that you learned perhaps under the full moon that you want to release? These are those last day of releasing. Think of it almost like a sweet smelling enema to kind of get rid of that last stuff in the bowel of your mind. It's almost like a way to give that last lance to the poisons that built up with Jupiter and Scorpio, and to take the right medicine to let that go. The reason, you know, for this dreamy energy as well is that the sun is going to try Neptune that day too. So it's almost like the boundary between us and what's unseen will thin. You know, the intangible, the infinite won't quite be there. Will quite be there. We'll kind of let go of ourselves more and be more connected to things. So yeah, a great day as well to be using that meditation. I'm going to pop up on my webpage. The next day, 7th of November, you know why I'm doing this video, and I'm sorry it reads off like a to-do list, but really it is. That's what this month is all about. So this is when Uranus moves into Aries. And, you know, I get that for all the fixed signs. You know, I can feel Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius going, but, you know, for those of us with strong cardinal signs, so Aries, of course, and the Librans, and Capricorn and Cancer, Uranus is back in that land. It's back doing a final test, a final hit, a final kick in the butt to see that you've learned what you needed to learn. And again, you know, because he's going to have that opposition to Uranus, to Venus retrograde, you know, what we've already been talking, it's going to become more exact that day. And then the moon moves into Scorpio that night, just to add a little bit more into it as well. So yeah, you know, all that dreaming and dwelling that you did the day before, use any insights that you had then to create some change. And for those of you with the cardinal signs, look, this energy is only around until, and I say, you know, only around until early March, but that's it. That's it for us. It'll be done and dusted then, and then it's on back into Taurus, lucky fixed signs. So use this as a chance to break apart what you didn't quite get end in the last one. Remember, Uranus is about authenticity. It's about breaking down what is no longer needed. It's about finding freedom and doing things in an unusual way, getting new perspectives, insights, revelations, those kind of things. It's connection to our higher mind, and understandings that come from out of this realm, or links, I feel, with the astrolight, that area that the whole of the human race, that collective mind, if you want to call it, shares. So it's a chance to really delve into that territory and find how you can personify it and bring it more into your own world. The other thing that's going to happen that day on the 7th, told you it's buffet of crazy, is the North Node will change signs into Cancer from Leo. The nodes of the moon move backwards. So again, this is a bit of a hit for those with cardinal signs, but more so the Cancer, Capricorn. So anyone with nodes in those signs or planets in those signs of Cancer and Capricorn, the next 18 months are going to be a highlight for you. Those in Capricorn, as the South Node, it's a place of release, it's a place of purification, it's a place of letting go. So that's what this year is going to herald for you, kind of really adding into that Saturn energy and the Pluto energy that's already in there. And for those with planets in Cancer or points in Cancer, it's a chance to reinvigorate where you want to go, those things you're trying to bring into your life. It's almost like a point where you're stretching towards your highest possible opportunity, your highest possible being, and what can go on there. So that's a chance for you to really aim for the stars and stretch out there. Okay. The new moon in Scorpio then happens at 2:02 a.m. on Thursday the 8th for us here in Australia anyway. And that is going to trine Neptune. So, you know, I'll write or put a new video up at the time about that, but I feel like that's really taking those last bits of all this Scorpio season and encapsulating them into something that you want to create for the year ahead. It's really looking into those deep spaces of what we want to purify, what we want to almost use alchemy to create something new from. What dross will you pull in to burn up and create that gold? With the trine, so it's at 15 degrees of Scorpio. Any of you that have planets or points around that, this will be even more significant for you. And it is trine Neptune. So there is another link to the collective unconscious, or the collective heart of things that can be healed at this time, things that can be brought to the light, that need that one final shot of help and support. I really feel like this particular new moon will have a lot of help from unseen world friends, whatever you want to call them, angels, spirits, elements, whatever. They will be there to help us. So yeah, listen out to messages from the divine or the universe, whatever you want to call it, or even your higher self, as to what needs to be created going forward. And then, drum roll please, 10:38 p.m. for us. Actually, that's 11:38 p.m. for Australian Daylight Standing Times. For us here in Queensland, it's 10:38 p.m. Jupiter moves into Sagittarius, and the moon quickly follows in and highlights that day. And there's going to be rejoicing in the land. Hooray! I really get a sense of uplift, optimism, faith, belief, hope, all those fun Jupiter words. There is going to be a lot of expansion and a lot of opportunities towards this. If you aren't already on my mailing list, then I would suggest that you pop on there. As soon as you subscribe, you'll be sent a link to an ebook. Not an ebook. Felt like it when I was writing it, but yeah, it's an 8-page guide on Jupiter in Sagittarius, and what it's going to do when it goes through the signs. So pop on there, download that, and use your rising sign. It's the best way, although it will work with your sun. But yeah, for more accuracy, use your rising sign with that. And if you'd really like to know what this 12-month transit's going to mean, because it goes all the way to the beginning of December 2019, book in for a reading with me, a session, and we can really have a look at what it's going to be triggering off, what your power dates are, what areas that the opportunities and the expansion will really happen into, and it will give you more insight on how to work with this going forward. So last page of my notes. The 12th and the 13th, the moon makes its monthly move through Capricorn, which is a big area and has been since Pluto and Saturn moved in there. Neither of them have been getting many transits this month. So yeah, that will be a day where it will feel a little bit more tested and challenging. But remember, this is about trying to learn, trying to grow wisdom through experience. It'll test us all, and just make sure that we're grounded. We've got our feet on the ground, and we're not flying off with Jupiter in Sagittarius and putting things in place that we may not have the energy afterwards to actually fulfill. It will make sure that we're bringing reason and logic really into that, but also into the whole buffet of crazy that is this Scorpio season, and that has been most of this year. And I get a feeling that it's almost like, okay, let's look back on what we've tasted, what we've eaten this year, and let's get rid of, let's ditch, let's burn out, let's dry out, all those things that we don't want to have, that no longer are needed. You know, what did you learn back in July and August from that Mars retrograde? What are you learning now, this Venus retrograde? And yeah, what do you want to let go of? Because this is the whole thing, you know, our whole life is an experiment. It's the point of being human. We're here to test things out, feel them, live into them. And if we hold on to all the crap and all the stuff that's not meant to be with us, we just get clogged up. You know, if you think that we're a pipe of universal energy, you know, that universal energy can pass through, we hold on to all that stuff, then it's just going to clog us up. And nothing will be able to flow through, and we won't be with that flow, and that flow that gives us buoyancy and carries us forward. So yeah, it's almost like this is a chance to kind of unclog the pipe and get rid of that, the detritus that's in there. On the 16th, we've got, here in Australia, we've got Mercury stationing direct in the early hours of the morning. It stations retrograde. What am I talking about? So yep, enter in Mercury retrograde and all those things. I get a sense that we really will just be reviewing the Scorpio territory again, because, you know, it didn't get far past where Venus got, but this time we're doing it with our minds. It's less about our heart, less about our soul, and more about our mind. So there is a stepped back quality to this, but do remember, I'm sorry, it's been making a mistake. No, it got way past. We're in Sagittarius. It is going to be dipping back into that Scorpio territory just to check that we've learned those lessons. Venus is going to continue to go through that area. But what I would say is really have a look at what plans for the future you're putting this in place right now. And what you already had done from that date when it went shadow back on the 29th, and just check that those plans that you made are realistic, that you can actually do that. Remember what Mercury retrograde's about. It's about, you know, if you're doing any travel, there may be delays. It's about reviewing, researching, reassessing, realigning, doing all those words. So if you need to do, if you have to do stuff like, for example, buy a computer under this retrograde, perhaps make sure you get a extended warranty when you do it, just in case. If you have a contract, just maybe put some flexibility into that contract, that you know that it will be reviewed at a later date, which potentially could be helpful. But if you can put it off, yes, do put it off. So that's going to remain retrograde until the 6th of December. On that same day, Mars moves into Pisces, and then pretty much straight after it, the moon follows it in. Now, Mars has been in Aquarius for most of the year, which is quite unusual. Usually Mars whips through a sign in less, a month or so. So this is a real relief in a way, and a chance to move on. Mars in the fixed signs, he doesn't have as much vim and vigor as he would like, even though he does rule one of the fixed signs. And he is moving into a watery sign, so also not exactly his happy place. But it is going to give a bit of energy to a different area of our life that's probably been on pause for a while. So any projects that have been on hold literally since May, you've perhaps already been getting some energy into and some movement with. But yeah, it's a time for those with mutable energy in their charts to get a bit of a hurry on and a bit of a shift. And even those of the water signs, this is going to be a positive energy for you. Those with the mutable signs, so we're talking Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, there may be a bit of friction and a bit of tension as Mars moves into the touches your planets there. But know that without that friction, there is no strength that's built up. And, you know, friction creates warmth and it can create connection. So Mars will perhaps cut things off, but it's also warming things up. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, and that day, Venus stations direct. Hooray, Venus retrograde is over. So it's almost like we're handing the batons between the Venus and the Mercury. So we have Venus stationing direct early in the morning and Mercury stationing to go retrograde late in the afternoon. So at least we don't have too much crossover of the two. And yeah, as I said earlier, used to be worried about Mercury retrogrades, but I bet you're not after this year. And the back-to-back retrograde action from Mars and Venus. The next day, the moon's going to go in and conjunct Uranus in Aries, and that's going to be a bit of a bang. Do expect fireworks. There can be anxiety with this, so again, remember the amethyst. One thing that you can do is actually strap, you know, if you're really struggling with this, you can actually strap a piece of amethyst to your arm. For ladies, it is on our left hand. For gentlemen, it's on your right, and just on the upper arm here on the port. Other things to do today would be just that deep breathing, mindfulness, and even the EFT tapping that I have shown you in previous videos. Just have a Google on EFT tapping and watch a demonstration. Even if you don't want to be doing it out in public, you could just be doing this karate chop point and these under the eye points. Do that as often as you have to. It helps get your brain aligned and the whole of your body aligned. And then on the 22nd, hooray, the sun moves into Sagittarius. God, leave Scorpio. Throw yourself a party. You made it. You've cleared that buffet of crazy. That Mercury retrograde will be just the last dish. It's almost like the dessert that has a bit of a bitterness in the end. But look, you know, I think we will all look back on 2018 as a year in which we learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about our strength, our perseverance, our courage. And it's helped us know that we can face things and go into those dark places of ourselves, and they're not as hidden anymore. It's like we've gone under the bed and shone a torch into the corner to find that monsters that we thought were there, and they're not. You know, it's just a little moth flapping around there, or nothing at all, just shadows that were on the wall. So yeah, I wish you much success with this month, and don't forget to go and have a look at that meditation, and I will see you all in Sagittarius season.